Welcome back. I'm off mute. Should be good to go. Did I do a screen share? Yeah, but we don't go there yet. Welcome back, guys, to Hxro Labs Live. I'm your host, RT, Random Task 555 on Twitter. Your local overtrader, here to teach you and talk to you about overtrading. Who would know better than the guy who just spent his morning overtrading? Sort of, like, not too much. We'll talk about it a bit. CPI came in cold, hot. We did get a nice reaction on the market, so we'll talk a little bit about that today. I was having this feeling yesterday, like it's a pullback Monday. CPI's tomorrow morning. We often see the market just kind of pause and wait, and in this case, a little down and sideways into such an event. Hey, iToy just says, best show on the internet. What's up, dude? You just made my day. We got Zen. We got the Matador. Welcome, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. So I was leaning towards kind of a turnaround Tuesday vibe as we came through the CPI print. Let's go take a look at Bitcoin. And we got it and then didn't get it. First of all, in a daily uptrend, let's just start at the top. In a strong daily uptrend, I like to use this EMA, the 12 and 26, just to kind of guide my bias. They're fairly fast moving when it comes to this stuff. And this tag today is the first time that Bitcoin price has interacted with this bullish EMA, the higher one, the faster one. That's the first time it's interacted with it really since the fake news breakout day back in mid-October. So, to be expected. You can get a strong uptrend. You're going to have rest periods. You're going to have some coming off. And so what I have here marked on the chart is two things. We have the fib pong, which is an idea that I've got where you have a strong uptrend, and then if you have a big smackdown day in the market, it'll kind of shock that market into consolidation. So you get something like this, and then this, and then this. And I've been tweeting something to that effect, kind of like trying to track this one, if it turns out to be that. But what we got today was interestingly, and frankly, pretty bearish, not just because there's an hourly or a 4-hour down candle, but we have the Monday range, which is highlighted with these two white lines. And so to kind of lose it a little bit last night and then regain it, I got long there. I was feeling pretty good about this fib pong, about that matching up with the range reclaim. And then into the CPI print this morning, actually just before it, we went and swept the range again. And on some exchanges, we even took out this low and then reclaimed it again. And then CPI came out and everything was fun for a few hours. And I was like, oh shit, I think we're going to get a Monday range trade. I think it's going to also be a fib pong trade. And I'm just sitting there in my longs. And then I went and I had a call this morning, and as well as on the call, it was just like boom. So not too exciting. Came in, retested the underside, and now just breaking down. So overall, fairly unexciting reaction for Bitcoin, especially because the CPI numbers that did come in, I don't know why I keep going to that chart. The CPI numbers that did come in were apparently pretty friendly. Basically, inflation being lower than what was estimated. So friendly, in fact, that the NASDAQ opened today with a big fat gap above a key level. So one area I've been watching on the NASDAQ, again, you guys know I don't trade this. I don't chart it too closely, but I like to have it on higher time frames just to get a sense of what's going on in the world. And so when you have this kind of M-top market structure, that's the structural fail point. And we spent that whole little recession-y bear moment all through last year and the year before. Well, really actually just 2022, because right when 2023 started, we just went up only. And then that's where we failed out again and then had a little correction. And now we've just gapped back through that. It's a little easier to see here on the daily. So we had an M again at that level, retested it, and then failed and failed. And then with that CPI print this morning, the whole market just gapped higher. So don't look now, but the NASDAQ is 6% away from all-time highs, which would almost certainly send it into some crazy continuation momentum into the abyss price discovery type thing. So seeing that, I was a little surprised and frankly disappointed. I'm not mad, Bitcoin. I'm just disappointed to see the inability for it to catch a bid above here. But if there is ETF announcement looming in this sort of 8 to 9 day period, which we have now, where they could all simultaneously be approved, and barring that, the next time they could all line up like that would be early January, which I think is where most people are leaning, myself included. But if we were going to get that announcement during this window in the next few days, it makes sense to me that there'd be a lot of shenanigans played down here trying to kick as many people out, liquidate, load up the longs. The whales will play the most whale-esque games. Being long into that, if there was like a big next leg announcement type rally, being leveraged long in particular into that would be quite a challenging thing. So I was pretty excited about it this morning, feeling like I had nailed it, like we were headed to range highs. So not gonna lie, as trading days go, this one's been a little bit disappointing. However, I'm still sitting in my DYDX long, which is just doing well. And so talking about over trading today, trying to avoid it, I think it's important. I had this one moment today where I got nuked on my Bitcoin. I got nuked on ETH when they lost those range lows again. I was like, shit. And then I looked at DYDX, still well in profit, thinking like, and the thought did cross my mind. It's like, do I adjust that? Do I close that? Do I capture that profit to offset this loss? And it's like, no. 2 separate trades, 2 separate targets. Yesterday I took some off. I don't know exactly where. I'm not going to pretend I painted the highs, but I closed 1/6 of the position somewhere through here, and then this would have been down here at the time because we hadn't yet made the new high. And then I saw this come in last night, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'm just going to reload that position." So I added to it. I actually increased it too. I put that back plus a little more, and then I just closed that re-add here. So I'm kind of playing with this position in a little bit where it's like DYDX. Let's go to the one where I actually have the ink on it. Yeah. So this is why. Here's my reasons. Initially thinking about, first of all, look at this chart. Holy shit. This is a nice looking chart. You get a nice breakout. First of all, like a year of like WW consolidations along the bottom. Breakout on volume. And then how long did we have? We had quite a bit of time there. That was 264 days from the high when it stopped making new highs and just chilled in a sort of consolidation until it finally broke out with some volume. Like this was the breakout. All these little wicks, all these little 5-minute closes above that level, they don't count. The volume, the close above on the daily, like that's your breakout. So 265 days of consolidation prior to that breakout. So I'd be shocked if this marks the high, but I also want to make sure I'm getting paid along the way when you have good trades. You don't round trip too much. Definitely, round trip some things here and there because you're looking for more. But so I did initially close a little there, and then I just reloaded it as I showed you on that chart because of the pump chaser zone. Almost like it's a new trade. Like if I wasn't in DYDX, that's where I'd want to jump on board because it is pumping. And so the pump chaser zone becomes appropriate. Anyways, highest volume today. And assuming that day closes green, which is a big assumption here, the way the market's looking, you never know. But with 9 hours left, 5.5 hours left, we'll have to see. But typically you don't get tops put on these things with the highest volume. You want to see an exhaustion in volume. So, maybe it's up and then it's up. And on this high, you have less volume, which is really a very clear signal, right? There's a lot of buying interest here, tons of volume. Up at a higher high, you might get less buying volume interest. And that's a really good signal to tell you that that particular rally is coming to an end, running out of buyers up at those levels, blah, blah, blah. sellers take over. Bob's your uncle. So yeah, Chaos PRZ TP1, reloaded it and looking for Chaos PRZ number 2. Trendmaster, very happy today on DYDX. And I think it's also important to look at this pair because DYDX is also looking quite good versus Bitcoin. Now, if Bitcoin is going to be a strong performer in the market, dominance rising, ETF looming, blah, 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 I would like to trade things that I think can do better than Bitcoin. Why waste all your time looking for all these altcoins if your chances of sitting in Bitcoin are, likely to outperform? So this one looks pretty good here. And if you zoom in, it actually kind of got like a breakout, somewhat of a retest, and then just a very strong reaction. Says like, okay, I'm moving. And that's versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin not doing too great today. So I'm going to drag that one over. I don't like that. I'm still holding on to these GAN levels as far as like moving higher goes. They're both kind of aligning at the 40K, 41,000 mark, which suddenly is not that far away, right? There was a time when it felt like, hey, when we move to 41, it's going to just be this huge move. And then the other day I realized I was like, yo, we're like almost at 38. So the move to 41 didn't seem so big anymore. There's only a couple thousand left. As we dip back to 36, looking like a little retest. I don't know. I'd be shocked if that's the high for the year, but let's have a look. Let's see. I don't know. I think today's theme is really more about over trading because there's a lot going on in the market. And on one day, something will be rallying and the narrative will be this. And the next day, it's L1s, and then it's AI, and then it's Solana tokens. And those hot ball of money ideas, they didn't really get like multi-weeks. I mean, they might still. Solana stuff still running. AI is taking a quick pause. L1s had a crazy weekend, AVAX ripping. TIA leading today, looking very good. That's Celestia. So I think it's important to not overtrade. And that is to say, for myself, for example, I'm excited about DYDX. I think it's going to be a great trade here for the midterm. I think it's going to rip. Already is ripping. It's probably a little bit late to the idea. Obviously, as we're coming into some initial chaos levels. But if during this is my point. During this, so I picked up my long here originally on that retest, and all during this like 5-6 days, it was kind of underperforming, right? There was other shit that was doing way better. We had the big nuke day, which in this case was just a friendly little bullish tap, retest, close back green. It's just very tempting through this in general in this market. There's so much moving. The chats are buzzing. Everyone on Twitter wants to tell you about the next greatest thing. It's so easy to jump from name to name to name. And you often don't leave one when it's pumping, right? You leave because it's boring. Well, those are the ones often set to go. So I tweeted this out because it was funny. I saw this morning and it was like exactly what I wanted to come here and talk about. So this account, HoneyXBT, I don't really know them very well, but basically highlighted what I wanted to say, because this happens to a lot of people, right? Bitcoin starts pumping, you miss it. So you buy an altcoin hoping to make some money. Altcoins start pumping, but yours isn't moving. So you get impatient, you sell and buy the ones that are moving. You say, TIA, yeah, Celestia, that's going to be the one. Then it inevitably takes a little pause. You have become the exit liquidity for the short term. And then the ones you started dumping, or the one you bought starts dumping. Yeah. And the one that you sold starts pumping. So it's like this game of musical chairs. Torturous. You think it's all manipulation. It's better to sit out. BT starts pumping and you miss the next pump again. Yep. So that is kind of a glimpse at what can happen if you don't come with a plan and if you are kind of just blindly jumping around from thing to thing. I am trading DYDX on BingX. BingX is an exchange that I recently discovered that is fantastic. And it's just good. So I'm just going to leave it at that. It's a good exchange. They seem to, they apparently post their reserves as well. So you can kind of take a look at this Merkle tree proof of reserves twice a month. I have looked at it. No forensic accountant, and I suppose it could be filled with false information, but from all intents and purposes, it seems legit. And there's not too many places I'm allowed to trade anymore. So I checked it out. That's where I'm trading it, for those who asked. Here we go. Tanner Manette says, I love you. Dude, I love you too. T-Man. Good morning. Love your show. Thanks, Mr. R. Appreciate all the love today, guys. Getting tons of love. Get me all warm and fuzzy. So, I mean, DYDX is just one of the nicest charts out there. Not just because it's moving up today. The thing that's nice about it, like what makes a nice chart, was just the long period of consolidation. So you feel like there's a pretty healthy floor in there. It's not like a chart that just came down like this and now it's like pumping. Like where's your floor, right? There's no base. It's just like a sharp counter trend reversal. There's a ton of charts out there like that. And on the leaderboard, oh, it's plus 27%. It looks like it's pumping, but it's really just, it's not the same. So with this one having a really long drawn out floor and then a very strong breakout of volume, and this was the real signal for me, is when you see this kind of volume on a reclaim and a retest, you can expect that the next, there's going to be some continuation in there often. So volume precedes price. And in this case, we got a nice blast of volume. And a couple weeks later, we got a nice blast in price. So keeping an eye out in the market for things like this. Now, this also happens to tie in with their V4 announcement, the fee switch possibly coming on, running their own chain over on Cosmos. So there's a lot of fundamental shifts there that should kind of allow speculators, holders to reimagine and then thus reprice what DYDX is and all the rest of it. It's just a trade for me. I'm not going to marry it. It comes into chaos levels. I'm going to say goodbye. It's been fun. As ever. We've got CVX. I think I have a better chart of this one. Do I? I do. I like CVX. Again, not fitting any particular narratives other than perhaps like some ETH infrastructure dyno kind of stuff. So almost a dino, I guess, this cycle, right? You're supposed to call everything from last cycle a dinosaur. That's what the cool kids are doing. But when you go into this negative price discovery like it did right here, you break to new lows. And look, there's no sellers. Nobody's selling down there. Volume completely dried up on the sell side. That tells me that there's just no sellers left. And then you get a blast up. Trying to reclaim it doesn't work. Then try to reclaim again. Notice the push back up to the lows had some real buy volume behind it. Nothing crazy, but definitely more than the sell prior. And then the selling that came after that little dip, again, underwhelming sells. And then the nice uptick in buy volume as it reclaimed that level. So on a midterm swing, this is what you want to see, right? You want to see a very key level break, no follow through from the bears, and then the bulls managed to reclaim it in 3 short weeks. So this is a chart I'd like to add more size on. Any kind of dips back into that support level. Nuke day the other day, we did have a quick tag into it, and again, closing green. So we may not get that. Let's see what the pump chaser zone says right here. So maybe front run that a bit. I do want to add to my CVX position. I have some. Nothing on futures, nothing crazy, no funding rates, just a little bag of spot. And yeah, I think however it resolves this dip, probably just ends up going higher. Revisiting some of these previous highs. Seems sensible, and the 4669 is where I would probably be out of the trade. What else do we got going on in the market? I was not gonna lie, I was pretty disappointed today to see Bitcoin destroying that Monday range. I was finally ready to trade it, and it was aligning really nicely with my FibPong thesis. Bitcoin just teasing at new lows, and then again the daily coming in to test this bull market EMA. So it's just saying like pretty standard. Like for example, if in a month we're trading up here and you saw this and it kind of came in and tagged EMA and then chilled for a bit and whatever, and then like it'd be totally normal. So there's nothing overtly scary about this on the higher time frames. I don't think just yet. Pretty standard. I mean, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 green weeks in a row. We're halfway. We're actually just starting a week out, so this could be another green week. But for now, it's starting off red. Yeah, this actually might be the long. Sometimes the way I like to trade is to take the nuke candle, let the little bounce happen, and then just get long in this local reload zone against that nuke low, because you're thinking, man, that kind of washed a lot of stuff out. Closed weirdly bullishly, kind of like up into a little hammer, and then you know, anything trading below that, you're just like, okay, I think we're definitely not very bullish right here. So this little local reload zone is actually not a bad spot to be trying to snipe longs. But I'm live and we're chatting, so I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do what everyone thinks I'm going to do. Who's coming with me? If you know that movie reference, hit me up in the chat. You were alive in the 90s. Any way to get hero swag? Yep, probably soon. I know some new swag. This is old swag, by the way. This is like their old, this is the OG swag. But I do have one of their new sweaters. They're very sweet. Eventually, I'm sure there's going to be a way for anyone to get hands-on merch. But for now, I'm pretty sure it's just like team and, you know, major supporters, investors, whatever else. Not sure if that's public yet. If you happen to see Caitlin Cook hanging out in the chat, she's the swag lady. She knows what's up. That's who I would ask if you asked me to find out. So let's see. Yeah. So, I mean, Bitcoin down in this range. This is tempting. So now this is where the over trading might come in, which is what we'll talk about. Like, my plan was, hey, we're going to go up, we come back down, go back up, go back down, and then this Monday range. And so we've kind of lost that, right? We closed below the Monday range. It's pretty bearish. I'm not sure I trust this low. You know, all things considered, I still really want to get long here against this low. I just do. But that may be the crux of over trading. There's a few other indicators that tell me we just need to cool it for a bit. And of course, once we reclaim some things and print an actual W, we can always revisit a new long setup. So I'm just going to chill. I'm going to chill on this for the sake of the stream, proving the point about over trading. I'm going to chill on Bitcoin today, even though. Okay, let's talk about that. When you are against the trend, in this case, you know, pretty clearly trending down on lower time frames. Every time you're stopped out, the long or the short, whatever one you were against, like, you know, gets sweeter. So it's like, okay, here, donk, stops you out, and then it's back up. It's almost like it's a sweeter long now, right? Because it's like, it's washed the stops. We're good. The OI has been wiped out. We're good. So the trade that you just got kicked out of that was, I guess, not that great gets even more compelling. And so you want to jump back in and it goes your way a little bit. Or maybe you're too gun shy, so you don't even jump in till up here, and then you're instantly underwater and stopped out, and then it comes in and makes a higher low. Like, this is the stuff that'll drive you insane. That's over trading to the max. And so I don't do it as much anymore. Definitely still sneaks up on me once in a while. But that's the mentality right here. Like, I really want to long this. Might end up being an outstanding long. Imagine they announce the ETF tomorrow. 40K. Oops. But at least, you know, at least need to hang on to this stream and not go crazy. On-chain is suffering. Is there any way to get here? So yeah. Alex Gallagher says magic. Thank you. Yes. That's to the answer I gave you earlier. DYDX. Yeah, and then, you know, I find Doge kind of underwhelming right now. I think I might be early to an otherwise good idea. I really do think that big rocket launch that's currently scheduled for January 12th, 2024, I do think that's going to put some eyeballs on Doge and some excitement around it. I'm guessing Elon will tweet about it at least once. So there's a trade there probably, but I'm not convinced that I'm timing it very well. It's underperforming for sure. You know, had a nice little run Saturday, but you know, this is the nuke that kind of washed everything last week, and the recovery level. I mean, we're just trading below that already. So I don't really trust Doge here. I got stopped out of it, close to break even. After this move up, I just kind of like dragged my stop up. I was like, fuck it, I'll just, you know, touch and go or get out of here. So I lost a few shekels on it, but not really much. And, you know, like trading fees and that. And I'm just not in a rush to get back in. It's not very compelling right now. Haven't touched my spot. Everything I'm talking about with ins, outs, and decisions is all to do with futures accounts. My spot stuff, I'd want to see like a major shift in trend before I start thinking about trying to like reallocate my spot or nuke everything to stables. Even if we were just say going to go. Sorry guys, I got 3 babies, so I'm just going to yawn every day for the rest of my life. Maybe if you've noticed that, I feel like I'm yawning a lot today. It's because I'm fucking tired. Just kidding. I'm exhausted. So when you get this kind of drop like this, like, I mean, okay, maybe we just drop and there's a big trend reversal. It's much more likely that you print the M and then you come back up and squeeze it and then go. So all that to say, as far as my spot bags go, if I did feel like selling them now, or if I looked at them and I thought these are way overweight, I'm going to reassess that on the next bounce up or that retest of the fail level. I'm not going to make a bunch of emotional decisions here on a Tuesday morning about, oh, I guess all my spot positions were wrong, because that would be over trading. And for now, by the charts that I've got, the levels I'm watching, we haven't really come into anything that's too significant. So not going to make a guessing game out of it. I've just got criteria that is for selling, criteria that's for holding, criteria that's for buying. And if anything right now, I just want to buy stuff. But I wouldn't be shocked to see a more prolonged squeeze or little wick, whatever. So we'll see. I think the key is in this market, and you've probably already experienced this pretty recently, is like less is more. You know, moving around a little bit less. Let's go take a look at TIA. TIA. New coming out recently, doing that little chill thing and then just blasting off, capturing imagination, the new sexy L1 Celestia. I don't even know how new it is. I feel like I've seen older charts than this. But yeah, wouldn't overtrade. DUSK had a nice week. That's not the chart though. And I haven't had a full view of on-chain. We can go poke around on-chain for a bit. This was my thesis around DUSK, is literally just this. It was like, hey, look at that long, or that last long drawn out consolidation through the reload zone, W'd and then took off. Nice volume. Here, even nicer volume. I mean, this whole trough was just filled with majority buyers ruling the day on the green days. And so I picked some up. It started, well, it had a good week last week, and this week it's just chilling to start. That's pretty standard across the board today. Could we tag that GAN line on the 17th? Let's see. Which one are we talking about here? I'm guessing you meant the other one. Yeah, I mean, that's the 17th. So I don't know which line you mean. I mean, the horizontal would be a shake out for sure. If we just like dropped through a level here and just went, that'd be pretty savage. I don't think there'd be too many leverage longs left in the market if that happened. So I guess we could tag that on the 17th, but I try not to use too much for timing on these. You know, other than this, sometimes the thing I do like about GAN is it gives you a sense of like the when of things. So like right here, price navigated this arc, you know, moving through it, because these arcs eventually price is going to pass through them. And oftentimes when it does, you get a reaction. So right here, we got the reaction. We closed above it, retested it, and then just teleported to the next key level. Right here, got pinned down by it, and as soon as we move through it, boom, strong up. So the arcs can be magical. So I do like to pay attention to them. Right now, we're just in no man's land. Came through a key horizontal, retested it, and started to move up. There's not really anything up there, excuse me, until any of these levels, which is really like that 40K kind of stuff. And it actually, weirdly enough, matches on my old Gann square, which is coming to the end of its life cycle. Womp womp, after a few years. This is the one that got us through the last bull market. So drawn from here to here, it expressed itself into this massive square of confusing lines. And we're just about coming into the tail end of it. Once it passes through this, it will no longer be of use. We will have to put it to sleep. But for what it's worth, it has a horizontal up at 41K as well. So both of them seem to be pointing. Now, that doesn't say like price has to go there. It just means that according to this, there's not much reason for it to stop until it does. So it's not quite a magnet. It's more just a lack of ceiling. That reference was Jerry Maguire. Oh. Can we tag all the Gann lines on the... Okay, are we holding max BTC until the ETF? What's your allocation? Yeah, let's see. You know what? My allocation is actually pretty close to balanced between Ethereum and Bitcoin. After that, I have Doge and Solana. And after that, DYDX. So those are my main holdings: ETH, BTC, Doge, Solana, DYDX. And funny thing is, Solana was not maximally allocated. It's just that it's gone up so much that the bag I had is now one of my biggest. I was underexposed to Solana, which is hilarious because I talked about it a lot and I was very bullish on it. And anyone who asked, I'd be like, yeah, it's probably just buy Solana for a few years. It's like the one you tell the fam and friends because it's got the most upside, but it's also most likely to be around. Most upside for a blue chip. Excuse me, that's what I meant. So yeah, and then coming in 5th place, DYDX, and then I've got some USDT, which I use for futures. And then I've got some HNT, FXS, Bract. And then I get into the Greece, things like RDO, NOLO, STX, APX. Yeah, those are all small allocations. Let me see if I can just pull up a proper little pie chart for you. Yeah. Yeah. There's some small positions on here, but this is it. So let's just stick it on the old chart. That's roughly it. So I'm pretty mashed up there with like some variety right now, right? These are not core holdings like, yeah, these are not core holdings in the sense of like, these are going to be the things I hold for a whole bull market. You know, I'm working basically from Bitcoin. Some of that I transferred into ETH. More recently, as the ETF news came out, I said, okay, ETH might be back. And you can see here, it's trying to make a reversal. So let's just keep an eye on that. I felt under allocated. Now I feel adequately allocated. Where's that chart? Yep. And then a big Doge position, which is really like a 3 to 8 week trade, depending how hard it runs and if it runs at all. DYDX. I've got a large futures position on DYDX. This is like a little spot that I picked up. And then STX. Nice to have a bag, high beta Bitcoin kind of stuff. Solana, larger. Every week I look back, it's a larger piece of this pie. And then just a bunch of little ones. Little ones that I'm just doing sell halves on doubles. Some of them are old free positions. Yeah, so that's it. You know what was having a day the other day? Where is it? APX. AstroPepeX. Was having a little rip yesterday. Oh, and it looks good. This for a meme coin, granted 375K liquidity, so be careful out there. It's a low liquidity coin, but for a meme coin, this is one that I have. We talked about it on the stream 2 Thursdays ago, where what's his name, Chewbacca, was giving me the grease, teaching me about meme coins and how to spot them. So this is one that I've been holding. I think I bought it a little early in the trough and then added to it a little early and then didn't add at the bottom because that's too smart. Now it's breaking out. So I'm happy. I'm happy to just sit with it. If I get way into double territory, I'll probably take my initial back. I think it's like 5 ETH, and then let the rest of it run wild into the spring meme season of 2024, which I'm sure we will get. Yeah. Otherwise, got a little DUSK and all that. Won't the ETF announcement just blow everything else out of the water, though, at least day of, and it will be so close? Does it make sense to go all BC if that's your reasoning? Yeah. I mean, look, I think the Bitcoin ETF is going to be great. I think that day Bitcoin is going to rip, and I think everything versus Bitcoin is going to tank. But I'm not sure that the flows are there from day one, or in this case on day two, to carry that. I think, I'm not going to sell my spot Bitcoin into that event or anything. At least I don't think I am. Not planning on it. Let me get a Bitcoin chart to talk about this. Ooh. So here's my attempted. Yeah, okay, let's get a weekly and a clean chart. Oh man, I was playing with some chaos levels the other day. There's finding some bundles. I guess we don't need that though. So let's see. Say there's a Bitcoin ETF approval and it just goes, Wah! I just don't know that the flows. First of all, the approval may not be the day that the product launches. I actually don't know how that works. I have a feeling it's not. It'll be like, it's been approved and it will go live, and maybe that day is soon, maybe it's not. But I'm not convinced that the flows from day one are just going to take it higher, higher, higher. It very well could. And that's why I'm not rushing to sell spot. I think it's more likely, since we're already seeing it kind of get priced in, that once it comes, at least that initial announcement of the approval is mostly priced in. Maybe it comes on, and that ends up being the high for a bit. I just think it's most likely that we have like a little downtime. Well, not that much downtime. Some kind of cooling period. And all through that, I expect altcoins and everything else, the trickle down economics of liquidity cycles to take effect. That's my base case. So as much as I want to be on Bitcoin, and I have some, and it's a decent little amount of my portfolio, right now I'm seeing a lot of strength in altcoins, and I'm enjoying that. But yeah, by the time you get so obsessed with altcoins and you're just like positioned pretty heavily throughout them, that's usually when Bitcoin comes back and it's like, guess who's back? So like a little bit underwhelmed by DOGE versus Bitcoin. It's not that sexy down here. It's at a level. I'm watching it and I really want to see DOGE do well on that rocket thing because I have a bag and I want to just increase that bag. There's definitely some buying interest brewing down here. But it's nowhere near as good looking as something like DYDX versus Bitcoin. Or, of course, we got to talk about Solana versus Bitcoin. Major uptrend happening right now. Could be the highs. We talked earlier about the highest volume not often marking the top. So right here, that top came in. I remember that day just thinking, I doubt that's the top because look how much volume there was. Tons of buyers loving to buy at that price. Typically, you get to a place where you run out of buyers and you can see the buyers running out on the volume. So this was a very large candle day. Ultimately, though, less volume. See how price can move, but there's actually less business being done, less interests from the bulls. And then this high came in, even less volume and kind of rejected. So it could be a cooling period. But that's also Solana BTC too. Let's take a look at the USDT chart. Yeah, even more of that happening, right? Highest volume. Price went higher, but the bulls were less in numbers. And that is just It's kind of obvious if you think about it, right? As you get up higher, there's just less people that are interested in buying. And eventually, there's also going to be more people interested in selling. I'm already seeing some very staunch, long-term soul guys kind of, messaging, just saying like, hey, I swapped a bit of my Solana over to ETH for the catch-up trade, like, because they're all staring at a ton of profit. And so they become sellers. And in the same time, they run out of buyers. That's how price, that's why price does price. That's what we're looking at. Here's an interesting level I just noticed. Resistance. We've broken through it. So let's see. Pump chaser zone. I mean, it's fair to say it's pumping. So I should probably apply the pump chaser zone. So that's the last real major low on the weekly. So we'll apply it to that or attach it to that. So I could see it cooling now through this. This would be sort of the next trade for Solana for me, is if we did something like through here. And then you're coming into the big level, the $80 level. That's the major, that's the next real technical level. This really should be a bit of a vacuum. Not a ton of price, going on in there. We got a little bit of a knockback, but I would not be shocked to see like a whatever this is. This is days, I guess. So that'd be like a month, but some kind of cooling through this PCZ, even if it's a tag and go, and then up to the ultimate level, which I think makes sense for the first major stop of this massive breakout off the lows, which has been very impressive. Apparently, I've not verified this myself, but apparently the FTX wallet is out of tokens too. Coins, rather. They've been selling them. And now they're all out. So BH, to your question, I mean, yeah, absolutely. If you are feeling confident that the ETF will be approved, and you're feeling confident that that's going to push Bitcoin to outperform everything else, then the takeaway from this whole don't overtrade thing would be like, yeah, sit in that. It's a high concentration, high conviction bet. And you have a very clear date of when that trade may have played out if you're just trading it for the swing of the ETF, which is like when it's announced. It'd be very sweet if it was announced on a big rally, because then you could sell into that rally and say, pretty sure this hype will calm down now. We'll have our ETF. There won't be a ton of demand sitting at the gates waiting to get in. But that demand should grow. More than anything for the ETF, what excites me is like, forget about the ETF. What's happening next year? We have the halvening. There's also an interesting liquidity cycle chart. So if you're I think it's the liquidity cycles. Some people think it's the halving. Either way, they're both coming up and pointing in the right direction. And so to me, the ETF is not about, there's so much demand and it's just going to plow in as soon as that happens. It's more like the demand will come as we cycle back into the bull. And now there's this massive ETF for all this exposure to be had by more traditionally managed assets, something in the realm of 12 or 11 trillion. So if BlackRock turns around and says to everyone in their portfolio, hey, you should have 1% exposure to Bitcoin, it's a whole lot of Bitcoin being bought, right? And I think that's the kind of thing we'll see in the next year or two. So this is really just about putting the plumbing in place. So yeah, if I had a high conviction, strong position in Bitcoin right now and I wanted to trade it, the end of the trade would probably be in whatever comes into that event of the approval, if we get it. If that makes sense. But if you ask me, I'd say in a year or two, we're much higher. So then you're just risking not being on board for that, for the sake of either catching some altcoin rotations or like waiting for a dip. There's risk on both sides. What was the US debt meme coin you mentioned? Oh yeah, I think it's just called US debt. Let's go see. Maybe it's debt. Yeah, it was on here last time, wasn't it? Main watch list? Yeah, I don't know. Where is it? I think it was US debt. So what the heck? Is it just deprecated? That'd be a shame. Yeah, I don't know, dude. I haven't tried to look for it since we talked about it on stream that time. Bags. Yeah, see, I don't own any. It'd be on this list. God, I got to update these lists. The thing is with Deck Screeners, there's a watch list on the phone app, and that's the one that I keep updated. So this is like a bunch of old stuff. Damn, House took a hit today. It's a super volatile coin. Let's see what comes up. Yeah, DYDX unlock coming next week. How will price be affected? Hard to say, dude. Very hard to say. I'd probably like to be out of the trade before that major unlock comes. I think it is a fairly large one, like increasing the supply by something like 80%. I have to look into that. I thought it was a little more in December, but suddenly that's only 2 weeks away. So I will look into that. I think the catalyst is super strong right now around this V4 stuff. And that's why we're seeing it plow much higher on big volume. So I'll tell you this, if this day closes green, then going by everything I just said earlier, like highest volume, new highs, typically not where I'm looking for tops. I'd be looking for tops if we got up to here on reduced volume. That'd be perfect. That'd be like, hey, we're coming into the chaos level. That's where you wanted to sell. Oh my God, look at that. There's a lack of buyer interest up here. Momentum is waning. What a perfect trade. That's what it is. That's what I'm hoping to see. Selling into the highest volume candle, premature, I think, by the way I trade. So, but like I said, there's still 5 hours to go. This has to turn green or stay green. ARB is taking a nice little dump. Yeah, I got stopped out of my ARB. Break even. Boring. Very uneventful. Arbitrum long. I'd love to say that I filled a sweet bid down here, but I think I bought it somewhere like up here. So like after that dip, I went around looking for stuff and I was like, man, ETH is ripping. Like it's probably going to do well. And like ARB should do well. And then the next day ARB took off. I was like, I'm a genius. And then I moved my stop up to break even. And then, wherever, I think it was even a little lower, but whatever the break even was, it just hit yesterday overnight. So something like this. So, womp womp. Oh, look at that. Reduced stop loss hit. Yeah, see, I hadn't even, that's the alert I just got. I'd actually already been stopped out of that, so just didn't update the alert. I got stopped at break even. Good thing I did too, because that was my reduced stop loss hitting, so I would have been nuked for that. Anyways, yeah, ARB's not that fun. It's a friggin', first of all, it's an airdrop token. As far as I know, all it does is allow for governance. It's probably a decent proxy for Ethereum, if you want to call it that at best, but also looking at the entire life of its chart, it's super young. So I don't think it's dead. I mean, that is to say, like this rally, I don't think it's cooked. We've got some nice buy volume coming in. We've got some nice W's coming in. We're just cooling off into this pump chaser zone. But the trade I had was like breakout like it did and don't go back. And it just went back. So I'm out. There's only so much margin in the world. Can't be wasting it on underperformers. Maximum Swag Engage says, not going to lie, I worked my ass off to get 1 BTC and I'm not selling until the ultimate climax where I dump on my own pension fund. Nice. Yes, there you go. And that's goals, man. That's so important. You come to a show like this, you see what I have to say, you go on Twitter, you see what someone else has to say. At the end of the day, you have to come up with your plan that fits what you've got going on. It's so toxic and it's so dangerous to sit around and copy and follow and get pulled and pushed in other directions by other people. And when you're new and you don't really have your own skill set and your own plan, it's kind of all you have, right? It's like, well, I don't know what to do. Things are just fucking random. So I'm going to go on here. This guy knows what they're talking about. They've got 600,000 followers. Whatever he says. But they're human too. We're all human. And so if I buy here and I'm not too comfy with it because it's a big dippy day, I may not tweet about it until it's up here. And that's a much riskier time to get it. And then I'll retweet right here, and then I'll retweet right here. And eventually you get sucked into the end of my trade, thinking it's the beginning of your trade, blah, blah, blah. So copy trading doesn't work. So I really like that you just said, you know what? Fuck your plan, RT. I've got my own, and I'm not selling until the ultimate climax. That's exactly what I want to hear from you. Please have a look at ILV chart, especially high time frame, first game to launch. Yeah. So just banged out a double on ILV over at the fund, which is fun. That's why they call it a fund, because we have fun. But we were looking at this down at 40, just thinking like, how can we not get a double off this at some point? Of course, things felt a little different down there, and we were right at the lows. So the idea was kind of like, you know, if we're going to get nuked, it's very small. If we lose those lows, it's lights out. So it was like a 5 to 10% risk to the downside. And then obviously the double comes in pretty quickly, even if you just spot the breakout. Got the double the other day. So we now have a free position in ILV. I think high time frame zooming out, this thing obviously has tons of upside potential still. And I would be watching pullbacks on this one, which is happening right now. So in many ways, for a lot of coins, it is time to pay attention. I'm still a little bit uneasy about the timing of all this. If it's like premature, you know, it's like, it's not 2025. I didn't expect a rip-roaring bull. It's probably just bullshit. So, you know, I think this is more what I expected to see through this kind of period in the cycle. Is just more of this. Like, I just don't think we're at this like up only relentless. There's still a lot of PTSD, a lot of fear. You can see it on the charts on the shakeout days. It's pretty aggressive selling. There's still a lot of bears, haven't capitulated fully yet. These things take time, these cycles. And I feel like we're premature to the next big one. Having said that, we've talked about it on stream before. I'm just going to trade the trend. And the trend is up on a lot of these things. So levels like pump chaser zones, when you have a strong pump like that, huge volume, highest price, highest volume. So in this case, by that logic, I don't think this one's done yet. And just like I was thinking with, what coin was it? Solana. There's going to like kind of come and trickle through something like this and then do its next leg. I think that's very possible in ILV as well. So yeah. First game to launch to the masses on Epic Games November 28th. Okay, that's interesting. So if there's a date in mind for ILV where it's going live, then that's actually the best kind of trade, because you're saying, okay, everyone's hyped going into this event. Now, is the day that the game goes live suddenly there's a billion more in demand for the token? Not at all. It's a story. It's a narrative. It's a buy the rumor, sell the news ad nauseum. And even if you did buy the rumor and then sell the news and then it kept going higher, you had a great trade. 90% of the time, those do actually sell off following the event. So if that's the case, you know, maybe we do get something like this. We go into one next leg into that event, and then we just chill for a while and say, oh, cool, the game's live on Epic Games. It's pretty cool. There's maybe some new users, but they're not all suddenly needing this token. I don't know. Off the cuff. That's my 2 cents. This one is about to make a massive weekly W potentially. Oh, did it? Oh, did it already? I think it did. Ooh, buddy. No, it didn't. Nope. Womp womp. Rejected. Somebody did not want this thing making a weekly W yet. So I wonder if that happens. Sometimes it happens like right into the close. And it's so shady. Let's see. What was the close? 12? Yeah. I think that's right around here. So the weekly, I think, closed right around there. So somebody pushed it down just through the weekly close. Shady, I tell ya. Maybe it was natural. Maybe it was the manipulators. You still holding? Man, there's a little heart emoji in the corner of the chat box, and it blocks all of the most, like, the latest comments in the chat. YouTube, poor UI. Let me pop out the chat. Let's see if that helps. It says, yeah, you still holding Hera? I am not. I'm not holding Hera right now. Hera's ripping, though. Very impressed. Good team. Good product. Bullishness on stocks is definitely good confluence for crypto, though. More skeptical of the alt bid without it. Don't understand that part, the last bit. More skeptical of the alt bid without it. Yeah, in other words, I think what you're saying is, like, if you don't see bullishness in stocks, it's hard to think that alts are going to go ham. I mean, look at this gap up on the NASDAQ. I can't get over that. It's very sexy looking. Probably gets filled in at some point, but that was a nice leap for all the indices today. Gold, catching a bid. The QQQ, same thing. QQ. And then all the crypto stocks not catching a bid. Inverse bid. Somebody's shorting crypto. Don't know what the hell's going on there. It's a shame. Makes me want to buy the dip, though, when I see everything around should be just kind of good. I think it just speaks to maybe a cooling period is needed. I mean, we've been pretty hot, guys. Let's be honest. Let's not get greedy, okay? It's been really friggin' hot. Ripping and just, yeah. So nothing about this says I'm a big top yet, although it's an ugly finish to that. Okay, let's be objective. I take it back. Bear div, lower high, less buyers interested at the new high price. So all the things we talked about actually do look a little cool your jets like. All right, there. I got my bias out of there. Objectively speaking, this does look a little iced. But still makes me want to buy something like this. I don't know. I'm in a DYDX long. I already showed you guys my kind of pie chart of spot holdings. Here it is. I don't see any reason just yet why I should panic and pivot and get all these back to stables. I'm just not seeing it. I am seeing a pullback after an incredibly strong 4 weeks. So we'll see. We'll see what today's close looks like. Wow. Did Bitcoin come off during the stream? Oh, it did. Hot dang. Came off bigly. So, oh, you guys didn't tell me we were crashing during the stream. That's incredible. Didn't I say I wanted to long it? Where did I want to long it? Oh, yeah, right here. Remember that? See? This has been a really good moment, guys. Because I was sitting here talking about how I really wanted to long it here, but I wouldn't because we were doing a stream about overtrading. And look at all the money I saved. Not overtrading. I think that's a great way to wrap for today. Refreshing. I honestly hadn't even noticed Bitcoin came off like that. That's wonderful. So that's pretty dope. Everest ID. Yeah, I was bag holding Everest ID for way too long, and then I nuked it. Let's go see. It's pretty ugly. I don't know what's going on with them, dude. They had the licensing. They had some pretty cool products. The tokenomics in retrospect, after I looked deeper at it, they were not great. And then the memberships that they were selling to clients that would have to use the platform and say, oh, to use the platform, you're going to have some ID. And if you're a bank, you're going to have 250,000 ID tokens and all these things. But it turns out they were selling those tokens, OTC, to the bank or whatever from the treasury. They weren't even making them go buy it off the market. So I feel like this one, I don't know if it's rugged. I haven't been in the community lately. I actually almost set up a call with Bob Reed last year or earlier this year, and then he canceled last minute, and I was like, But yeah, it's too bad, dude. It's a great example of why you manage risk. Like, it's just get so excited about this thing. And to be fair, I was pretty excited about it because I bought it here and it mooned and I had a free position, but then I added and added and added and added and held and then sold. Actually, I sold when it broke down from 20 cents. So this was the 20-cent level. And yeah, and I just kind of was like, fuck this thing. But that's also why sometimes when you're underwater and you're like, well, like there is a point where you have to stop adding and just accept that, you know what? I was wrong. This one, not the winner I thought it was. Maybe it comes back one day. But even at 20 cents, I was down pretty astronomically. And it's now down another 93% from that. That's how nasty this shit can get. Bag holding is not for the faint of heart. So 70% off my buys, or my first buy, I guess, or whatever. And I guess that's the sad part, is it actually did have a free position in it and then just let the winner turn into a loser. But yeah, I haven't heard what they're doing lately, and it doesn't sound like it's probably that great. That is a good example of if you have a cool product and no love for the token. Yeah, the breadth indicator is pointing down. I suppose we can talk about that. I'm not trying to like telegraph its every move. That would kind of dilute its value. But since the chat is talking about it, you know, it's all overbought. It's a buy, it's a sell, it's a buy, it's a sell. Like it's overheated. Now I am suspicious of how this will perform in an extremely strong trending market where it doesn't have the usual ebb and flow, but I also haven't seen it do that. So I'm not going to fade it all the way through, but I was willing to fade it in this case because of the range trade I had set up, which was up here. But anyways, we just got a sick nuke. Wonder what that means for my DYDX long. Wow, DYDX is holding up strong. That means that it just broke out versus Bitcoin. Yep. Yeah, we're ripping. So almost closed this morning after taking a hit on Bitcoin and on ETH with my CPI Monday range low longs. They got nuked. And I had an emotional moment where I was like, yo, fuck that. I'm going to close my DYDX long before it nukes, and then I can at least have some money. And then I was like, nah, I thought better of it. I was just like, this thing's overperforming. It's breaking out versus Bitcoin. It's got a catalyst, blah, blah, blah. So chose not to overreact. And for now, I'm being rewarded. I did close a little bit of it. Because I closed some here and then I re-added double what I closed there. And then today, with all the bullshit in the market, I was like, you know what? That's a nice trade. I'll take this little mini trade within the bigger trade, which is from here. So yeah, there's still a good chunk of potential for DYDX on a daily time frame. I just don't see it being cooked yet. So anyways, it's probably time to wrap up here. I've got a meeting to get to, as I do on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. It's been an absolute pleasure rolling with you guys today. Whatever you do, try not to overtrade this stuff. Look, if you get into a thing, whatever token you get into, have a reason why you got in, where you got in, when you got in, and then most importantly, like identify what things would happen that would make you wrong. Because once you're wrong about an idea, you should get out. It's just a bad idea. And that often means losing money. And it often means locking in a loss, which is hard to do. But as you just saw there with ID, I locked in a pretty big loss and I avoided an even bigger one. And just like with DYDX, at least for now, it seems to still be rolling. And so not overreacting and selling that just because everything else went down. And then I think just keeping in mind, like the next 2 years, the next 3 years, the next 10 years, like there's a lot to come. There's always another bull. There's always another rally. There's always another coin, at least for now. So try not to rush too much into like the TIAs at the highs, blah, blah, blah. I think TIA could do really well. It's just scary when things are blasting into price discovery, and like it's just not where I buy them. So set up those pump chaser zones. dig into the reload zones, find the bid entry levels, and whatever you do, guys, always play from a position of strength. Take care. Good chat today. Chat was